What if I told you that a simple quarter sitting in a drawer, hidden in a cup holder, or mixed in with your spare change could be worth far more than 25 cents? Most people spend them without a second thought. They buy a snack, feed a parking meter, or toss them into a jar. But every once in a while, an ordinary-looking coin surprises the world. And today, we're talking about one of the most fascinating modern American coins ever produced, the 1999p Washington quarter. At first glance, it looks completely ordinary. George Washington's familiar portrait stares back from the front. The reverse features a unique state design. Nothing seems unusual. Nothing screams treasure. But appearances can be deceiving. Because this coin was struck during one of the most historic coin programs in United States history, and certain examples have become highly sought after by collectors. Some have sold for hundreds, even thousands of dollars, depending on condition and rarity. So what makes this quarter special? Why are collectors searching through rolls of change nearly 3 decades after it was minted? And could one be hiding somewhere in your home right now? Let's uncover the story. To understand the importance of the 1999p Washington quarter, we need to travel back to the late 1990s. America was entering a new millennium. The internet was rapidly changing everyday life. Technology companies were booming. The world was preparing for the year 2000. At the same time, the United States Mint launched a coin program unlike anything seen before. The 50-state quarters program. The idea was simple but revolutionary. Instead of using the same reverse design year after year, each state would receive its own unique quarter. 5 states would be honored annually until all 50 states had been featured. Nobody could have predicted what happened next. Americans became fascinated. Families collected them. Schools used them for educational projects. Millions of people who had never cared about coins suddenly started searching their pocket change. It became one of the most successful coin programs in American history. And the year 1999 marked the very beginning. That means every 1999 quarter holds a special place in numismatic history because it represents the launch of this historic series. The Philadelphia Mint produced the quarters bearing the P Mint mark. Several different state designs were released during that inaugural year, including Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Georgia, and Connecticut.
Millions upon millions enterent circulation.
Yet not all of them survived in the same condition. And that's where things get interesting. Imagine 2 identical quarters leaving the mint on the same day. One spends years bouncing around cash registers, vending machines, pockets, and coin jars. The other somehow avoids circulation entirely. Maybe it was saved by a collector. Maybe it sat untouched in a roll for decades. Fast forward to today. The circulated coin may only be worth face value. The pristine example could be worth dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of dollars. Condition matters enormously. Professional grading services evaluate coins on a numerical scale. The highest grades are exceptionally difficult to achieve because even tiny imperfections can lower a coin's value. For the 1999p Washington quarter, top-grade examples have attracted significant attention among collectors. Why? Because finding a nearly flawless modern circulating coin is much harder than many people realize. These quarters were produced for everyday commerce, not for preservation. Bags of freshly minted coins were transported, counted, and distributed across the country. During that process, small marks and scratches often appeared before the coins even reached circulation. As a result, truly exceptional examples became surprisingly scarce. But condition is only part of the story. The real excitement often begins when collectors discover mint errors. Coin errors are accidents that occur during the minting process. Normally, quality control catches most mistakes. Occasionally, however, unusual pieces escape into circulation. And those mistakes can become incredibly desirable. Imagine finding a quarter struck slightly off-center, or a coin displaying dramatic doubling in parts of the design. Perhaps a striking error creates an appearance unlike any ordinary quarter. Collectors love these unusual pieces because they tell a story. They're reminders that even in a highly controlled manufacturing process, perfection isn't always guaranteed. Some error coins become legendary. Others remain hidden for years before someone notices something unusual. This possibility keeps treasure hunters searching. Every roll opened carries a small element of mystery. Every handful of change raises a question. Could this be the one? The 1999p Washington quarter also benefits from something powerful that many older coins possess: nostalgia. Think about it. Millions of Americans remember the excitement surrounding the first state quarters. Children traded them with friends. Parents searched for missing states. Grandparents filled collection maps and albums. These coins became part of everyday life. For many collectors today, the 1,999 issues represent memories as much as money. And when nostalgia combines with collecting, demand often follows. But here's something many people don't realize. Modern coins can sometimes be surprisingly difficult to locate in perfect condition decades later. Most people assume older automatically means rarer. That's not always true. A coin minted in huge numbers can become scarce in elite grades if very few survive without damage. This is one reason serious collectors carefully study population reports and grading statistics. They aren't simply looking at how many coins were made. They're looking at how many exceptional coins still exist. It's a subtle but important difference. Now let's consider another fascinating aspect of the 1999p quarter: timing. Being the first year of the state quarters program gives it historical significance that later issues don't quite share. Collectors often place special value on first-year items. First editions of books, first-year baseball cards, first-year stamps, and first-year coins. The 1999 quarters opened the door to a collecting phenomenon that lasted for more than a decade and captured the imagination of an entire nation. Without those first releases, the story of modern American coin collecting would look very different. That historical importance adds another layer to the coin's appeal. Yet perhaps the most captivating part of the story isn't what happened in 1999. It's what's happening right now. Somewhere at this very moment, a 1999p Washington quarter is probably sitting unnoticed. Maybe it's in a forgotten piggy bank. Maybe it's inside an old collection inherited from a relative. Maybe it's resting quietly in a cash drawer. The person holding it may have no idea collectors are searching for examples in outstanding condition. And that's the magic of coin collecting. Unlike buried treasure hidden on distant islands, these treasures often exist in plain sight. You don't need a ship. You don't need a treasure map. Sometimes all you need is curiosity. One careful look. One closer inspection. One decision to check your change instead of spending it. The next great discovery could be waiting in a place you've overlooked 100 times. So the next time a quarter lands in your hand, don't dismiss it too quickly. Take a moment. Look for the date. Find that tiny P mint mark. Examine the condition. Search for anything unusual. Because while most 1999p Washington quarters are worth exactly 25 cents, a select few have become prized collectibles that tell the story of America's most successful modern coin program. And who knows? The coin that everyone else sees as ordinary might turn out to be your most extraordinary find. If you enjoyed uncovering the secrets behind the 1999p Washington quarter, make sure to subscribe and join us for more incredible stories of hidden treasures, rare coins, and surprising discoveries hiding in everyday places. And before you go, take a look through your pocket change and let us know what interesting coins you found. Your next discovery might be closer than you think. What if I told you that a quarter sitting unnoticed in a drawer, a cup holder, or even at the bottom of a piggy bank could be worth far more than 25 cents? Most people spend quarters without giving them a second thought. They buy a drink, pay a parking meter, or toss them into a jar and forget about them. But every once in a while, an ordinary-looking coin turns into an extraordinary treasure. And today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating modern coins that continues to capture the attention of collectors across America: the 2000D Washington quarter. At first glance, it doesn't seem special. It's a quarter. You've probably seen hundreds of them. But hidden behind this small piece of metal is a story connected to American history. A massive coin program, rare errors, collector demand, and the possibility that some examples could be worth hundreds, thousands, or even more than their face value. So before you spend your spare change, you may want to listen closely. The story begins in the year 2000. America was entering a brand new millennium. The internet was transforming daily life. Technology was advancing rapidly, and people everywhere were looking toward the future with excitement and uncertainty. At the same time, the United States Mint was in the middle of one of the most successful coin programs in American history, the 50-state quarters program. Launched in 1999, the program was designed to honor each state in the order they joined the Union. Every few months, new quarter designs entered circulation, turning ordinary pocket change into miniature history lessons. Millions of Americans suddenly became coin collectors. Families searched through rolls of quarters. Children filled maps with missing states. Collectors rushed to banks hoping to find fresh releases. And right in the middle of this collecting craze came the 2000 D Washington quarter. The D Mint mark indicates that the coin was struck at the Denver Mint, one of America's most important coin-producing facilities. The Denver Mint has a long and fascinating history dating back to the gold rush era. By the year 2000, it was producing hundreds of millions of coins annually to meet the nation's demand. The obverse of the coin features the familiar portrait of George Washington. Washington wasn't just America's first president. He was the military leader who helped secure independence and a symbol of national unity during the country's earliest years. His image had appeared on the quarter since 1932, originally introduced to commemorate the 200th anniversary of his birth. For generations, Americans carried Washington's likeness in their pockets without realizing the incredible history behind it. But the reverse side is where things become especially interesting. Depending on the state design released during 2000, collectors could find quarters honoring Massachusetts, Maryland, South Carolina, New Hampshire, and Virginia. Each design celebrated a unique piece of American heritage. From the historic landmarks of Massachusetts to the famous outline of New Hampshire's Old Man of the Mountain, these coins transformed everyday currency into collectible works of art. And Americans loved them. The popularity of the state quarters program was unlike anything seen before in modern coin collecting. People who had never looked at coins suddenly became treasure hunters. Banks struggled to keep up with demand for fresh rolls. Coin folders sold in huge numbers, and collectors searched endlessly for perfect examples. Now here's where the story gets even more fascinating. The Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of these quarters. With such enormous numbers, you might think they could never become valuable. But coin collecting isn't always about how many were made. Sometimes it's about condition. Sometimes it's about errors. And sometimes it's about surviving examples that are far better than the rest. Think about it. Most quarters immediately entered circulation. They rattled around in cash registers. They bounced through vending machines. They scraped against other coins. Over time, scratches, dents, and wear became unavoidable. Finding a truly pristine example decades later becomes surprisingly difficult. This is where collector value begins to emerge. A typical circulated 2000 D Washington quarter may only be worth face value. But an exceptionally preserved coin with strong luster and virtually no marks can command significantly higher prices. Professional grading services evaluate coins based on their condition. The highest grades are reserved for coins that appear almost perfect. And when a modern coin achieves one of those elite grades, collectors often compete fiercely to own it. Some top-graded examples of 2000 D quarters have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. Imagine that. A coin worth 25 cents becoming worth enough to pay bills, buy collectibles, or fund a vacation. And that's only part of the story. The real excitement often comes from mint errors. Mint errors occur when something unexpected happens during production. Perhaps the coin is struck off-center. Maybe the design appears doubled. Sometimes the metal planchet has a defect. Other times the strike itself creates unusual characteristics. These mistakes escape the mint and enter circulation, creating accidental rarities. Collectors love them because no two are exactly alike. It's like finding a hidden secret left behind during the manufacturing process. And because millions of people handle quarters every day, the possibility remains that undiscovered errors are still sitting in jars, drawers, and collections across the country. That possibility keeps treasure hunters searching. Every roll of quarters becomes a mystery. Every handful of change becomes an opportunity. Every ordinary-looking coin might hide an extraordinary surprise. But beyond rarity and value, there's another reason these coins matter. They represent a unique cultural moment in American history. Before smartphones dominated everyday life, before social media became a constant presence, families gathered around kitchen tables sorting coins together. Parents taught children about geography and history through state quarter maps. Grandparents shared stories connected to different states. Coin collecting became more than a hobby. It became a shared experience. For many Americans, the 2000 Washington quarter isn't just a piece of currency. It's a reminder of a specific time, a memory, a connection to family, a symbol of discovery. And sometimes those emotional connections make coins even more meaningful than their market value. Interestingly, some collectors believe that modern coins like the 2000 quarter remain underestimated. While ancient coins and classic rarities often dominate headlines, modern issues continue to gain attention as new generations enter the hobby. As the years pass, pristine examples become harder to locate. Mint-sealed rolls disappear into collections. High-grade specimens become increasingly desirable, and demand can grow in unexpected ways. That's one reason experienced collectors never ignore modern coins. Today's pocket change could become tomorrow's sought-after collectible. History has shown that seemingly ordinary coins can surprise everyone. So the next time you receive a quarter in change, take a closer look. Check the date. Look for the mint mark. Examine the condition. Search for anything unusual. Because the difference between an ordinary quarter and a valuable collectible may be hidden in details most people never notice. And that brings us to one final question. How many treasures have already slipped through our fingers without us realizing it? How many valuable coins have been spent on coffee, dropped into vending machines, or forgotten in jars? The truth is, nobody knows. That's what makes coin hunting so exciting. Every coin carries a story. Every pocketful of change holds possibilities. And every collector knows that the next great discovery could happen at any moment. The 2000 Washington quarter may look ordinary, but its connection to American history, the state quarters program, collector demand, high-grade rarity, and fascinating mint errors make it a coin worth paying attention to. So before you spend your next quarter, give it a second look. You never know what treasure might be staring back at you. If you enjoyed this journey into the world of rare and valuable coins, make sure to subscribe and join our community of treasure hunters. Leave a comment below and tell us the most interesting coin you've ever found in circulation. And remember, sometimes the greatest treasures aren't buried underground. They're hiding in your pocket right now. Have you ever wondered if a simple quarter sitting in your pocket right now could be worth far more than 25 cents? Most people spend these coins without a second thought. They disappear into vending machines, tip jars, and cash registers every day. But what if one ordinary-looking quarter held a story connected to American history, a nationwide collecting craze, and the possibility of surprising value? Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of the 2001 Washington quarter, a coin that millions have seen but very few have truly understood. At first glance, the 2001 Washington quarter doesn't seem special. It's just another quarter featuring George Washington on the front and a state-themed design on the back. Yet beneath that familiar appearance lies a remarkable chapter in modern American coin history. To understand why this coin matters, we need to travel back to the late 1990s. The United States Mint launched one of the most successful coin programs ever created, the State Quarters Program. The idea was simple but brilliant. Each year, new quarter designs would be released celebrating different states in the order they joined the Union. Americans suddenly found themselves checking their pocket change, hunting for new designs, and filling collecting maps and albums. The excitement was unlike anything seen in modern coin collecting. Families searched through jars of coins. Children traded quarters at school. Adults who had never collected coins before suddenly became treasure hunters. The state quarters program transformed ordinary Americans into collectors almost overnight. In 2001, 5 new state quarters entered circulation. These represented New York, North Carolina, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Kentucky. If your quarter carries a D Mint mark and one of these state designs, it was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the nation's primary coin production facilities. The Denver Mint has a rich history stretching back more than a century. Located in Colorado, it has produced billions of coins that have traveled across the country. The small D Mint mark found on these quarters tells us that the coin was born in Denver before beginning its journey through American commerce. Now here's where things get interesting. The 2001 D Washington quarters were produced in enormous numbers. Depending on the state design, hundreds of millions were struck. That means these coins are not rare in the traditional sense. You can still find them in circulation today. So why are collectors paying attention? The answer lies in condition. Most quarters enter circulation and immediately begin accumulating scratches, dents, and wear. They pass through thousands of hands and endure years of use. Finding a 2001 D quarter is easy. Finding one in exceptional condition is an entirely different challenge. Imagine 2 identical quarters struck on the same day. One spends 25 years bouncing through cash registers and vending machines. The other is carefully preserved, protected from damage, and stored away. Decades later, the difference in value can be astonishing. Professional grading services evaluate coins using a numerical scale. The highest grades are reserved for coins that appear nearly flawless. For certain 2001 D state quarters, examples receiving top grades have sold for hundreds and sometimes even thousands of dollars at auction. Think about that for a moment. A coin originally worth 25 cents can become worth hundreds or thousands simply because it survived in extraordinary condition. But condition isn't the only factor collectors watch for. Throughout the history of coin production, mistakes occasionally happen. These errors create some of the most exciting discoveries in numismatics. A coin may be struck off-center. A design element might appear doubled. Sometimes a coin is struck on the wrong planchet entirely. While major errors involving 2001 D quarters are uncommon, they do exist. And when collectors find genuine examples, the market can become extremely competitive. Imagine sorting through spare change and noticing something unusual. Maybe the lettering looks strange. Maybe part of the design appears shifted. Could it be damage? Or could it be a valuable mint error? That possibility is what keeps many treasure hunters searching. One fascinating aspect of the state quarters program is its cultural significance. Before this series began, many Americans paid little attention to the designs on their coins. Suddenly, every new quarter became a miniature history lesson. The 2001 designs were especially meaningful. New York's quarter featured the Statue of Liberty and an outline of the state. North Carolina celebrated the Wright brothers' historic first flight. Rhode Island highlighted its famous sailing heritage. Vermont honored its beautiful landscape and maple syrup tradition. Kentucky showcased its renowned horse industry. Each coin became a tiny ambassador representing the identity and heritage of an entire state. Millions of Americans learned history through these designs without even realizing it. But perhaps the most remarkable thing about the 2001 D Washington quarter is how it changed the coin collecting hobby itself. Before the state quarters program, many collectors focused on older coins, precious metals, or rare dates. The state quarters introduced a new generation to collecting. Children who filled quarter maps in 2001 are adults today. Many professional collectors trace their interest back to searching for state quarters in their childhood. That's a powerful legacy for a simple 25-cent coin. And yet, questions remain. How many high-grade examples are still hidden away in old collections? How many valuable mint errors remain undiscovered? Could a forgotten roll of quarters sitting in a drawer contain a future auction star? These mysteries continue to drive interest among collectors. The market for top-condition state quarters remains surprisingly strong. While ordinary circulated examples generally remain worth face value, exceptional specimens attract serious attention. Collectors compete to assemble the finest known sets, and even tiny differences in quality can dramatically affect value. This creates an unusual situation where two coins that appear nearly identical to the average person may have vastly different market prices. One might buy a snack. The other might pay a utility bill. That difference comes down to details invisible to most people but incredibly important to experienced collectors. There's also a psychological element that makes the 2001D quarter so fascinating. Unlike ancient treasures locked away in museums, these coins are still out there. They circulate through everyday life. They hide in piggy banks, couch cushions, and forgotten jars. The possibility of discovery feels real. Every handful of change becomes an opportunity. Every quarter deserves a second look. That's the magic of coin collecting. It's not always about gold or silver. Sometimes the excitement comes from recognizing something others overlook. As the years pass, the 2001D Washington quarter becomes more than just a piece of currency. It becomes a time capsule from the beginning of the 21st century. It represents a period when Americans across the country shared a nationwide collecting adventure. It captures history, culture, and the thrill of the hunt all in a single coin. And perhaps that's why collectors continue to search for them. Not just because of potential value, not just because of rare errors, but because every coin tells a story of where it was made, a story of where it traveled, a story of the people who used it, and maybe, just maybe, a story that isn't finished yet. So the next time a 2001D Washington quarter lands in your hand, don't rush to spend it. Take a closer look. Examine the mint mark. Study the design. Check for unusual features. Ask yourself whether this ordinary-looking coin could be hiding something extraordinary. Because history has shown that treasures don't always come from shipwrecks, buried chests, or ancient ruins. Sometimes they arrive quietly in your pocket change. And who knows, the next valuable discovery could already be waiting for you. If you enjoyed uncovering the story behind the 2001D Washington quarter, make sure to subscribe and join us for more fascinating journeys into the world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and incredible discoveries. And before you go, tell us in the comments, what's the most interesting coin you've ever found in your change? Your next great discovery might inspire our next adventure. Have you ever looked at a quarter in your pocket and wondered if it could be worth far more than 25 cents? Most people spend them without a second thought. But what if one ordinary-looking coin from 2004 could tell a story of American history, hidden collecting treasures, and a fascinating chapter in the evolution of U.S. coinage? Today, we're diving deep into the 2004 Washington quarter, a coin that millions of people have handled, yet very few truly understand. At first glance, the 2004 Washington quarter doesn't seem special. It looks like countless other quarters circulating through cash registers, vending machines, and piggy banks across America. But beneath its familiar appearance lies a story connected to one of the most successful coin programs in United States history. To understand why this coin matters, we need to travel back to the late 1990s. The United States Mint launched an ambitious project known as the 50-State Quarters Program. The goal was simple but revolutionary. Honor every state in the nation with its own unique quarter design. What began as a creative experiment quickly became a national phenomenon. People who had never collected coins before suddenly started checking their change. Families searched through jars of quarters. Children built collections in colorful folders. Millions of Americans became treasure hunters overnight. By 2004, the program was in full swing. That year featured 5 states: Michigan, Florida, Texas, Iowa, and Wisconsin. Each design celebrated the unique identity and history of its state. Every time someone received a quarter in change, there was a chance of discovering a new design. The coin we're discussing today carries the letter P, indicating it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. This mint has played a central role in American coin production since the earliest days of the nation. For generations, Philadelphia produced billions of coins that traveled across the country, becoming silent witnesses to American history. The obverse, or front side, of the 2004 quarter features the familiar portrait of George Washington. This iconic image traces its roots back to the original Washington quarter introduced in 1932. That year marked the 200th anniversary of Washington's birth, and the coin was intended as a tribute to America's first president. Think about that for a moment. The same portrait that appeared on quarters during the Great Depression continued appearing through World War II, the space race, the rise of the internet, and into the 21st century. Every quarter serves as a tiny connection between generations. Now here's where things get interesting. The Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of Washington state quarters in 2004. Because so many were made, most examples remain worth only face value. If you pull a circulated 2004p quarter from your pocket today, it's probably still worth 25 cents. But collectors know a secret. Condition changes everything. A coin that has spent years bouncing around in pockets, cash drawers, and vending machines will show scratches, wear, and damage. However, coins that escaped circulation and remained in pristine condition can command significantly higher prices. Imagine two identical quarters struck on the same day. One enters circulation and spends years changing hands. The other is carefully preserved from the moment it leaves the mint. Decades later, one remains worth a quarter while the other may attract serious collector attention. This is where professional grading enters the story. Coin grading companies evaluate coins using a numerical scale. The highest grades are extremely difficult to achieve because even tiny imperfections can lower a coin's score. Collectors compete fiercely for examples that survive in near-perfect condition. Some 2004p Washington quarters have sold for impressive amounts when certified in exceptional grades. While they are not among the rarest U.S. coins, top-quality examples can surprise people who assume modern coins have no collector value. But there is another layer to this story. Error coins. Throughout history, the coining process has occasionally produced mistakes. A misaligned strike, an off-center design, a doubled image, or other manufacturing errors can transform an ordinary coin into a sought-after collectible. Most quarters leave the mint exactly as intended. Yet every so often, a coin slips through quality control carrying a unique flaw. Collectors actively search for these mistakes because they represent something rare. A coin that is different from millions of others. Imagine finding a quarter in your spare change that appears slightly unusual. Most people might overlook it. A collector, however, could recognize an error worth far more than face value. This possibility fuels the excitement of coin collecting. Every handful of change becomes a potential treasure hunt. One of the most fascinating aspects of the 2004 quarter series involves the Wisconsin quarter. Certain varieties became famous because of an unusual extra leaf appearing on the cornstalk design. These varieties generated enormous attention among collectors and demonstrated how small details can create big excitement in the hobby. Suddenly, people across the country were inspecting quarters under magnifying glasses. News stories appeared. Collectors searched rolls from banks. The ordinary quarter had become the center of a nationwide hunt. It raises an intriguing question. How many valuable coins have passed through your hands without you noticing? The answer may be more than you think. Another reason the 2004p Washington quarter remains important is its place in American culture. The state quarters program introduced countless people to history through pocket change. Every design told a story. Every coin became a miniature history lesson. A Michigan quarter celebrated the Great Lakes. A Florida quarter highlighted exploration and space achievements. A Texas quarter honored the Lone Star State's proud heritage. Iowa's design recognized education and opportunity. Wisconsin showcased agriculture and natural resources. Millions of Americans learned something new simply by examining the coins they received every day. That's a remarkable achievement. Coins are often viewed as tools for commerce, but they are also pieces of art, history, and storytelling. They capture moments in time and preserve cultural identity in metal. The 2004p Washington quarter represents this idea perfectly. It may not be a centuries-old treasure from a lost civilization. It may not be made of gold or silver. Yet it reflects a unique period when an entire nation became fascinated with the coins in its pockets. And perhaps that's the greatest mystery of all. Why do certain coins capture our imagination while others do not? Maybe it's the thrill of discovery. Maybe it's the possibility of finding hidden value. Or maybe it's because every coin carries a story waiting to be uncovered. Somewhere right now, a 2004p Washington quarter sits forgotten in a drawer, tucked away in a collection, or hidden among spare change. To most people, it's just another quarter. To a collector, it could be a piece of a larger historical puzzle. The next time you receive change, take a closer look. Examine the date. Notice the mint mark. Study the design. You might not find a fortune, but you'll gain an appreciation for the incredible journey each coin has taken. From the presses of the Philadelphia Mint to the hands of millions of Americans, the 2004p Washington quarter has traveled across the nation carrying history with it every step of the way. And who knows? The coin sitting in your pocket right now could be the start of your own treasure hunting adventure. If you enjoyed uncovering the story behind the 2004p Washington quarter, make sure to subscribe and join our community of coin enthusiasts and treasure hunters. Share in the comments whether you've ever found an unusual quarter in your change, and tell us which state quarter is your favorite. Until next time, keep checking your pockets, keep exploring history, and remember that sometimes the most ordinary-looking coins can hold the most extraordinary stories. What if I told you that a quarter sitting quietly in your pocket right now could be worth far more than 25 cents? Most people spend Washington quarters every day without giving them a second glance. They buy a cup of coffee, pay for parking, or toss the coins into a jar at home. But every once in a while, an ordinary-looking quarter captures the attention of collectors across the country, creating excitement, speculation, and even treasure hunting fever. And that's exactly what happened with the 2015p Washington quarter. At first glance, it looks like just another modern American coin. Nothing flashy, nothing made of gold or silver, just a quarter produced by the United States Mint in Philadelphia. But behind this seemingly common coin lies a fascinating story connected to America's national parks, modern coin collecting, rare errors, and the surprising possibility that some examples could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. So before you spend that spare change, stay with me until the end, because one small detail could completely change the value of a quarter you already own. To understand why the 2015p Washington quarter matters, we need to travel back through American coin history. The portrait of George Washington first appeared on the quarter in 1932. The coin was originally created to commemorate the 200th anniversary of Washington's birth. What began as a temporary design became one of the most recognizable coins in American history. For decades, the Washington quarter remained largely unchanged. Generations of Americans carried it in their pockets, used it in vending machines, and stored it in piggy banks. Then, in 1999, everything changed. The United States Mint launched the incredibly successful state quarters program. Millions of people who had never collected coins before suddenly began searching through pocket change. Families, students, and collectors raced to complete quarter sets representing all 50 states. The success was enormous. After the state quarters program ended, the Mint introduced another series called America the Beautiful Quarters. These coins celebrated national parks, monuments, forests, and historic sites across the United States. The 2015p Washington quarter belongs to this famous series. During 2015, the Mint released 5 different quarter designs. Each one honored a unique American location rich in history and natural beauty. Millions of quarters were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, identified by the small P mint mark. At first, these coins entered circulation like any other quarter. Banks distributed them. Cashiers handed them out as change. Most people paid little attention, but collectors noticed. The America the Beautiful series had become one of the most popular modern coin programs ever created. Many people started saving fresh examples directly from circulation, hoping that future demand might increase their value. Among the 2015 releases were designs honoring Homestead National Monument of America, Kisatchie National Forest, Blue Ridge Parkway, Bombay Hook National Wildlife Refuge, and Saratoga National Historical Park. Each design tells a different story about the American experience. The Homestead Quarter celebrates the settlers who moved westward in search of opportunity. The Kisatchie design honors the natural beauty of Louisiana's forests. The Blue Ridge Parkway Quarter captures one of America's most scenic drives. Bombay Hook highlights wildlife conservation and natural habitats, and Saratoga commemorates one of the most important turning points of the American Revolutionary War. These aren't just coins. They're miniature history lessons struck into metal. Now here's where things become especially interesting. Most 2015 P quarters are worth exactly 25 cents in everyday circulation. That's the reality. Millions were produced, making standard examples common. But coin collecting has never been about ordinary examples. Collectors chase condition, and condition changes everything. A quarter that survives circulation without scratches, wear, or damage can become significantly more valuable than one that has spent years bouncing around cash registers. Professional grading services evaluate coins using detailed standards. Coins receiving the highest grades often command surprising premiums. A 2015 P quarter in average condition might buy you nothing more than a snack. A nearly perfect example, however, can attract serious collector interest. Why? Because perfection is rare. Even fresh coins can receive tiny marks during production, transportation, and handling. Finding a coin that remains virtually flawless is far more difficult than most people realize. That's where the excitement begins. But the real treasure hunting stories involve mint errors. Throughout American coin history, manufacturing mistakes have transformed ordinary coins into collector legends. Imagine a machine striking a coin slightly off-center. Imagine a doubled image appearing in the design. Imagine missing details, unusual die cracks, or striking abnormalities. These errors create unique coins that differ from standard production pieces. And collectors love unique coins. Several 2015 P quarters have been discovered with unusual minting characteristics. While many are minor, some attract significant attention from specialists willing to pay substantial premiums for authentic error examples. Think about that for a moment. A coin intended to be worth 25 cents can suddenly become worth hundreds of dollars because of a manufacturing mistake. It's one of the reasons coin hunting remains so addictive. Every handful of change carries possibility. Every roll from the bank feels like a treasure chest waiting to be opened. Every quarter has a story, and sometimes that story becomes valuable. There's another fascinating aspect of the 2015 P Washington quarter that many people overlook. These coins represent a specific moment in American history. Future generations won't remember every event from 2015, but coins endure. Long after newspapers fade and websites disappear, these quarters will continue telling stories about America's landscapes, historic locations, and national heritage. Collectors understand this. When they save coins, they're preserving small pieces of history. It's not always about money. Sometimes it's about connection. Connection to the past. Connection to the people who designed, minted, and used these coins. Connection to the stories engraved on every surface. And that's why even modern quarters can become meaningful collectibles. Now let's talk about value. Many online headlines promise extraordinary fortunes hidden in pocket change. Some claims are exaggerated, while others contain a grain of truth. The reality is simple. Most circulated 2015 P Washington quarters remain worth face value. Uncirculated examples may bring modest premiums. High-grade certified examples can command significantly higher prices. And genuine mint errors can sometimes sell for impressive amounts depending on rarity and collector demand. The key is knowing what to look for. Check the coin's condition. Inspect the mint mark. Look carefully for unusual characteristics. Compare your coin with known examples. And if you discover something that appears genuinely unusual, consider consulting a reputable coin expert or professional grading service. You never know what you might find. Perhaps that's the greatest mystery of all. How many valuable coins are still hiding in circulation right now? How many are sitting forgotten in old jars, drawers, piggy banks, and collections? How many people have unknowingly spent coins worth far more than face value? Nobody knows. And that's exactly what keeps treasure hunters searching. The 2015 Washington quarter may not be made of precious metals. It may not be centuries old. It may not have belonged to a king or emperor. Yet it represents something powerful. The idea that history, mystery, and opportunity can still be found in everyday life. The next time you receive change, take a closer look. Examine the details. Read the design. Think about the story behind the coin. Because sometimes the most ordinary objects hide the most extraordinary surprises. And who knows? The next quarter you discover could be the one that turns a routine transaction into an unforgettable treasure hunt. If you enjoyed uncovering the story behind the 2015 Washington quarter, make sure to subscribe and join us for more fascinating coin discoveries, hidden treasures, rare collectibles, and incredible stories from the world of numismatics. And before you go, check your pocket change and tell us in the comments. What's the most interesting coin you've ever found?